beloved, we are not ignorant of the enemy's devices. The word tells us clearly in Ephesians 6:12 that we wrestle not against flesh and blood, but against principalities, against powers, against the rulers of darkness of this world, and against spiritual wickedness in high places. Witchcraft is not merely about someone wearing a black cloak or flying on a broom. No, it is much more subtle, strategy, and spiritually manipulative. In today's world, witchcraft can manifest through manipulation, control, and the perversion of destiny. If you are discerning, the Spirit of God will open your eyes to see the signs when someone is actively working against your life through dark means. God has given us authority, but we must not be passive. We must be watchful, prayerful, and equipped with wisdom. Today I will show you 5 signs that someone may be using witchcraft against you, not to instill fear, but to ignite discernment and provoke prayer. Let's awaken your spirit and teach your soul to recognize when darkness is lurking in disguise. A sudden, unexplained heaviness or confusion in your mind that appears around specific people is not just an emotional shift. It can be a spiritual indicator. When you carry the Spirit of God within you, your spiritual atmosphere is sensitive. The Holy Spirit is a discerner of hearts and motives. And often he alerts you not through loud proclamations, but through the quiet unease of your soul. There are moments when you step into a room or someone steps into your space and immediately your clarity begins to feel clouded. You can be having a productive, peaceful day, your mind sharp, your emotions grounded, but then this one person enters and it's like a fog descends. You can't think straight. You feel off. An emotional or mental heaviness starts pressing down on you and you can't explain it logically. That is not coincidence. In the spiritual realm, witchcraft manipulates the air around you. It tries to intercept your thoughts, confuse your purpose, and distract your focus. Spirits of confusion and heaviness are often sent through spoken words, prolonged eye contact, or even through silence if the person is operating under a demonic assignment. Sometimes the confusion you feel is not even your own. It's being transferred to you. The enemy will use people as vessels. People you know, people you love, even people who appear harmless. And yet, every time you engage with them, something in you begins to retreat from clarity and fall into questioning. Questioning your decisions, your self-worth, your direction, and even questioning God. This confusion is not a sign for you to remain silent. It is a call to spiritual war. But before we war, we must discern. One of the key tools of witchcraft is manipulation. And manipulation begins in the mind. If the enemy can control your thoughts, he can influence your choices. So when you begin to feel this sudden mental haze, pause. Observe the pattern. Ask yourself, do I always feel this way after talking to them? Do I sense peace or pressure in their presence? The Spirit of God never brings confusion. He brings peace. The enemy's influence is often subtle at first, but the symptoms become more consistent over time. In certain cases, this heaviness manifests not just emotionally, but physically. You might begin to feel sleepy, dizzy, or burdened for no reason. The moment the person leaves or you disconnect from the interaction, you start feeling light again. You can think again. You're no longer wrestling with mental fatigue. This pattern is not to be ignored. It is a clear marker that something spiritual is being exchanged, something not of God. You may find yourself trying to justify it. Maybe they're just having a bad day. Maybe you're overthinking. But spiritual discernment often begins where logic ends. Your spirit knows what your mind is still processing. The enemy doesn't need you to believe in witchcraft for it to be effective. He only needs you to be ignorant. But God doesn't want you to live unaware. When you notice that your clarity and peace are repeatedly disrupted around a specific individual, take it seriously. Go into prayer. Ask the Holy Spirit to reveal the source. Break any soul ties, even emotional ones, that may have been unknowingly formed. Invite the presence of God into your atmosphere and command every source of confusion to flee. Don't just sit in heaviness. Speak against it. God has not given you a spirit of fear or confusion, but of power, love, and a sound mind. There is a spiritual law of cause and effect. What happens in the spiritual realm eventually manifests in the physical. When you are under spiritual attack, especially through witchcraft, it often doesn't begin with visible signs. One of the most overlooked but powerful indicators is the subtle collapse of progress immediately following an interaction with a certain individual. You might notice that every time you speak to them, visit them, or even share good news with them, something begins to unravel in your life. Plans fall through, unexpected delays occur, contracts dissolve, opportunities vanish. What you were once excited about becomes burdened with resistance. You begin to question your abilities, your timing, and even your purpose. But the pattern is the key. If failure becomes repetitive and follows a cycle, especially after specific interactions, you are not simply experiencing bad luck. There may be a spiritual interference. And it is intentional. People practicing witchcraft or operating with dark intentions often project sabotage through envy, curses, or negative words disguised as concern. When they speak into your life, they are not prophesying, they are planting seeds of destruction. Their compliments come with hidden jealousy, their prayers come with ulterior motives, and their advice subtly redirects you away from divine purpose. Sometimes, this person may even be someone you consider a confidant or a spiritual figure. That's why discernment is essential. Not everyone who bows their head with you is bowing to the same God. They may carry an atmosphere that is polluted, and the moment you come into agreement with them through conversation, touch, or emotional vulnerability, you come under the influence of that atmosphere. Witchcraft thrives where permission is granted, even unknowingly. Your spirit can sense it, but your mind may still try to justify their behavior. Have you ever left a conversation with someone and suddenly felt discouraged about something you were previously confident in? Have you ever shared a new business idea or ministry plan, and immediately after that discussion, the momentum disappeared? These are not always random. They are spiritual markers that someone is interfering with your path. And what makes it even more dangerous is the repetition. If it happens once, maybe it's a coincidence. But if it happens consistently, every time they're around or involved, it's a spiritual pattern, and patterns reveal agendas. Witchcraft is rooted in control. Its goal is not just to see you fail, but to ensure you remain dependent, doubtful, and directionless. When someone is constantly around you, but your life never elevates in their presence, you have to question their spiritual impact. This is not to promote suspicion, but awareness. Because sometimes the enemy comes dressed in familiarity. He doesn't just show up as your enemy. He often appears as your comforter, your helper, or even your supporter. That's why the pattern matters more than the personality. God is a God of fruitfulness. Where he is, growth follows. Where he is not, delay, decay, and disorder will manifest. If you've been noticing a strange series of breakdowns in your life, and they are tied to moments after engaging with someone specific, take it to prayer. Ask the Holy Spirit to reveal the root. Don't be afraid of the answer. Sometimes deliverance doesn't come by casting a demon out. It comes by walking away from a demonic influence. The power of spiritual warfare lies in recognition. You cannot break what you refuse to acknowledge. If a person's presence consistently precedes your failure, it may be time to reposition them in your life emotionally, spiritually, or relationally before the damage deepens. Dreams are not just images your mind generates while you sleep. They are portals, messages, and sometimes battlegrounds. The Bible is full of examples where God spoke through dreams, but just as heaven speaks, so does hell. One of the most revealing signs that witchcraft is being used against you is the presence of dark, repetitive, and unsettling dreams, especially dreams involving snakes, shadows, or being pursued by invisible forces. These are not just bad dreams, they are spiritual warnings. And they must be interpreted with discernment, not dismissed as stress or imagination. Snakes in a dream are never to be taken lightly biblically. The serpent has always represented deception, seduction, and satanic influence. When you begin to see snakes regularly in your sleep, especially in places where you feel unsafe or attacked, it is often a sign of spiritual manipulation at work. Someone may be trying to infiltrate your spiritual covering, injecting lies, confusion, or temptation into your life. The snake may bite you, speak to you, wrap itself around you, or simply watch you from a distance. Each scenario reveals a layer of spiritual intrusion. Sometimes it's not just about what the snake is doing, but who it resembles. Pay attention. If the snake looks like a person you know or is connected to a familiar place, God may be showing you the vessel through which the attack is coming. Dreams where you are being chased or hunted, especially when you can't see who or what is after you, are signs of a spiritual assignment against your destiny. These dreams often leave you waking up in fear, drenched in sweat, or unable to shake the dread that clings to you afterward. The enemy uses these dreams to instill fear, to exhaust you spiritually, and to create mental torment. Witchcraft thrives in fear. And these dreams are tools used to weaken your resistance, especially if you wake up confused or anxious. They are also indicators that someone may be invoking your name in rituals, altars, or dark prayers. Shadows or figures lurking in your dreams without faces represent unknown spiritual forces, often sent through people who are hiding their true intentions. These shadowy presences don't always speak, but their presence feels oppressive, heavy, and threatening. You may even feel paralyzed in the dream, unable to move, scream, or fight. This is known as sleep paralysis, but its root is spiritual oppression. Witchcraft can manifest through these experiences when your spirit is under attack while your body sleeps. God allows these dreams not to torment you, but to awaken you. If you keep ignoring them, they will increase in intensity. But if you confront them in prayer, in fasting, and with the authority of the word, their power begins to break. Always pay attention to the timing of these dreams. Are they happening after you reconnect with someone? Dreams don't lie. People do. And God will often use your dreams to show you what your natural eyes refuse to see. Don't just wake up and forget. Record the dream. Pray over it. Anoint yourself before sleeping. Declare the word before you lie down. Cancel every assignment. Renounce any agreement you may have made, even unknowingly. If someone is trying to gain access to your life through spiritual manipulation, your dreams are often the first place you'll notice the warfare begin. It is in the night that many battles are fought, but it's also in the night that victory can begin. Your dreams are not random. They are revealing. There are moments when your spirit speaks louder than your logic. When your body begins to respond in fear, unease, or sudden dread without any clear rational reason. This is not always anxiety. Sometimes it is discernment. When someone is operating in witchcraft or carrying a dark spiritual atmosphere, your inner man can sense it before your mind understands it. If you consistently feel an unexplainable tightness in your chest, a weight in your stomach, or even a desire to avoid someone without any obvious offense or conflict, you may be perceiving something spiritual. This fear is different from nervousness or social discomfort. It often comes suddenly, right before you meet or speak to the person. Sometimes just the thought